Will you lead me to paradise?
Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Curtis, and today I want to do a recap of Zatima Season 3, Episodes 1 through 5. And before I get started, I do want to let you all know I am going to review Zatima Season 4 on BET Plus next week, and so that's why I'm doing a recap, just to make sure that we are all on the same page and we know what's going on. Alright, so let's start with Episode 1. So at the beginning of the first episode, we see Zach, we see Fatima, they are in the bed, and they're having a conversation about Gladys, which of course is Zach's mom. Unfortunately, she passed away. And so she's trying to get a good gauge as far as, his mental state right now. And he tells her that he is not really sure how he feels. He feels like he should know, but he really doesn't. And Fatima's like, you know what, that is absolutely okay. It's fine, it just happened. So it is going to take some time to sort out your feelings. She goes on to say that she feels like he needs to reach out to Dr. Reed, because Dr. Reed is someone that can actually help him get through what he needs to go through. Because, while she is happy that he is willing to talk to her about everything that's going on, she still feels like he needs to reach out to a professional so that way he can sort out his feelings. And he says, you know what, you're absolutely right. I will reach out to him after the funeral. And speaking of the funeral, he says, you know what, I'll be honest with you, I do not even know the first step when it comes to planning a funeral. Like, I have no idea. And so Fatima's like, you know what I'll do, I will assist you. And he's like, you would? She was like, of course. And then he was like, you know what, thank you, I appreciate it. Fatima asks Zach, what is he going to do for the rest of the day? Zach says, you know what, I think I'm going to go to the office. He brings up Gary, he brings up Bryce, and it's clear that he has some type of issue with them, some type of disdain. But it's like, I'm going to go to the office. And Fatima's like, speaking of Bryce, do you know if he has ever reached out to his father to inquire about the money? And Zach is like, I'm not really sure. Right now I'm currently in the red because of something that he did. So I really do hope that he was able to reach out to his father and able to get that money. And during this time, Fatima, she's like, when it comes to the money, I can clearly just wire you some money. But of course, Zach, he's on some, I'm a man shit. So I'm not really trying to accept no money from my woman right now. So he's like, you know what? I appreciate it, but no, not right now. After this, we see Preston. He's just like lingering outside in front of Zach's house, looking very suspicious. Deja comes up, notices him, and asks him, what's going on. And then Deja, she starts becoming like extremely flirtatious with Preston. It was just like, can somebody please get this girl some water? Please, please, please. And so she continues to flirt, and then luckily Fatima does come outside, and then she's like, no, you need to go. You need to go into your house. And so she does flee. And then she's like, Preston, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing out here? And he was like, oh, I'm just in the neighborhood. And she was like, do you know somebody who lives in this neighborhood? And he was like, well, I'll be honest with you, I actually heard about what happened to Zach's mom, and I was just curious, how he's doing. And Fatima was like, oh, well, if you want to ask him, just go inside. He was like, are you sure? She was like, yeah, come on, I'll take you inside. Fatima walks him inside. Zach comes downstairs. Fatima leaves, and then the two of them have a conversation. And so during this time, he says, you know what, I heard about what happened to your mom. And he's like, who told you that? And he was like, well, Danny posted about it on Facebook. He was like, that damn Danny. Preston asks Zach, how are you feeling? And he's like, you know what, I'll be honest with you, I'm not really sure how I feel right now, but I feel like I'll be better, after the funeral. And then Preston, he starts asking all of these follow-up questions like, what are you doing today? Are you going into the office? Like, what's going on? And so Zach is like, why are you pressing me? Like, why are you so concerned about what I have going on? Like, what is happening? Preston tells him like, hey, look, I really just want to hang out with you, just have a conversation with you. I'm really just trying to be a friend to you right now. And Zach is like, well, I'm not really sure about hanging out and being friends with people, because the last person that was being super friendly and wanted to hang out tried to kiss me. And Preston's like, what are you talking about? He was like, there was somebody that wanted to hang out with me that tried to kiss me. And he's like, I'm not really sure like what you are on right now. And Preston was like, look, brother, you have nothing to worry about with me. Like, you don't have to worry about me trying to do anything with you. After this, we see Connie, we see Nathan, we see Tony. And I was looking at Connie, and I was like, damn, she looks so familiar. And then I was like, wait, is she the lady that was on the skits with Miss JD&V? Have you all ever watched those videos? I was looking at her, I was like, oh wait, that is her. And so it is crazy to see somebody go from doing like YouTube skits to being on TV. Well, I mean, it's a streaming app, but still, I feel like it's still on TV. So congratulations to her. Tony asked Connie, like, what is going on? Like, why did you call us out here to meet you? Like, what's happening? And so she's like, you know what? There's something that is weighing heavy on my heart, and I just need to speak to somebody else about it. So she goes on to say that Gladys, which is Zach's mom, had a life insurance policy. And on the policy, she made her the executor. So she is responsible for distributing the money out. And so they're like, okay, so what's the problem? She was like, well, the problem is I have to reach out to Jeremiah. And then they're just like, oh, that's not really good. And she's like, I really don't want him to get this money because unfortunately Jeremiah is a drug addict and she feels like he's going to blow that money on drugs and potentially die. And so they're trying to come up with a plan like, what can we do? Connie is nervous that the insurance company may have already reached out to Jeremiah, and they were just like, well, you know what, Jeremiah, he checks his mail like 15 times a day, so if something would have came as far as a letter or a check, he would have already had it and he would have smoked it by now. And so they was like, okay. So they're trying to think of something else, and then Tony's like, you know what, maybe you should reach out to Fatima. And then Nathan was like, why would she do that? That doesn't make any sense. He's like, no, you need to reach out to Fatima. And he was like, well, what if Fatima tried to steal the money? And they looked at him like, Fatima's not going to try to steal the damn money. Like, what is wrong with you? Connie tells him that she is going to try to meet with Fatima in person, and she's also going to try to meet with Fatima without Zach. Fatima and Angela meet in the parking garage, and I just want to say something really quickly. I think it is kind of strange that both Fatima and Angela work at the same law office as Andy, but when we watch Zatima, we're supposed to pretend as if Andy's not there. And then when we watch Sisters, we're supposed to act as if Angela's not there. I think that is kind of weird, but whatever. Fatima asked Angela if Bryce was able to get the money from his father. And Angela's like, I don't know, that's not my man. Like, why are you asking me these questions? And Fatima's like, look, I'm not really sure what's going on with him and his father, but he better hope for himself, for his safety, that he is able to get that money from his father. Fatima and Angela, they walk into the office, and guess who is sitting there in the office just waiting for Fatima? Connie. So Fatima, she doesn't actually see her at first, but Angela does, and she taps her like, look at that, look who that is. And so they both walk up to her like, what do you want? And she's like, you know what, I just need to talk to you. I need to go over some information. I'm not like a legal expert. I really need your help. And so they go back and forth for a minute, and then Fatima's like, you know what, let's just go into my office, right? And so as they are walking away, Connie, she flips her hair, she has braids, and she actually hits Angela with her braids. And I was actually shocked that Angela didn't like grab her braids and snatch her back. That is what you call growth. Connie and Fatima go into Fatima's office, and Connie gives her some policy documentation. And so she looks at the documents and she's like, oh shit, Gladys had a life insurance policy with a $25,000 limit. And so Connie goes on to explain that when it comes to the beneficiaries, of course it's Zach, of course it's Jeremiah, and she's saying that, she's kind of scared, she's kind of nervous to get the money to Jeremiah. And Fatima, she completely understands because she already knows if he gets this money, he's going to smoke it away. Connie tells Fatima that she wants to sign the insurance policy over to her so that way she can be the executor. And Fatima's like, what? Wait a minute. Like, you just handed me these documents and just told me this information. Now you want to sign it over to me? Like, I don't think I can do that. And so Connie's like, you know what? Just keep the policy documents, think about it, and then we can reconvene a little bit later. And Fatima's like, okay, fine, whatever. Zach and Preston finally make it into the office, and Bryce walks in. And Zach is like, hey, where's my money? What's going on with the money? And he's like, you know what? I believe that my father is going to give me the money, but I can reach out to him again just to confirm. He's like, yeah, go in there and see, what's going on with the money. And so Zach and Preston, they continue to talk. And Preston says, you know what? I can let you borrow some money. And Zach says, without saying, like, while I do appreciate it, I personally feel like you are broke. I don't feel like you have the money, so I'm not even going to waste my time having this conversation with you. Connie reaches out to Fatima and lets her know that the insurance company actually reached out to Jeremiah and told him about the insurance policy, and she was like, fuck. She also tells her, and this is very important, she says that she's told Jeremiah that Fatima and Zach were the ones who were in charge of distributing the money because she was scared that he was going to do something to her and her kids. And I was like, so I can see where she's coming from, but at the same time, it's like, are you really trying to put another woman in danger, Connie? Is that what we're doing? Back with Zach and Preston, Zach is on the phone and he's, getting estimates for, caskets, and he is really shocked to find out how much everything costs. And so Bryce comes back into the room and he says, you know what, when it comes to his father thought that he would be able to do it, but it does not appear that he will be able to do it right now. And Zach, he gets pissed and tells him that he needs to get his fucking money back, right? Like, he is pissed. And then next thing you know, Bryce, he starts to get pissed, and then they get all up in each other's faces. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Like, he got super aggressive, like really, really quick. Luckily, Preston was there to kind of separate them, like, hey, you know what, let's not do this, like, let's not do it. And Bryce says, you know what, I'll reach out to my dad again, and I'm going to get everything straightened out. I'm going to get everything taken care of. And I was like, Bryce, you better get that shit taken care of. As far as the first episode, it ends with Fatima. She's walking through the parking garage, and then next thing you know, we see Jeremiah. And as soon as I saw him, I was like, oh, this isn't going to be good. And so he starts asking her about the insurance policy. He's like, look, I know about the insurance policy. I know you are the person that's in charge of distributing the money. Like, where's my money? And so Fatima's trying to act as if she doesn't know what's going on. And he said, Fatima, give me my fucking money. And so at this point, we know that it's getting quite serious. And so he puts his hands up. I thought he was going to try to choke her. And then he starts reaching for her purse and reaching for things. And so it becomes a struggle. And then he like is able to like grab her, throw her against the car. Mind you, remember, Fatima is pregnant. Fatima is pregnant, right? So he throws her against the car. And then he says, I told you not to fuck with me. And I was just like, oh my God, this is not going to end well. All right, so we are now in episode 2, and so it picks up where the last one left off. And so Fatima, she is now on the ground. She is not moving. And you know Jeremiah, I mean, he is kind of like, oh my God, I didn't mean to do it. Why would you make me do it and all of that stuff? But with her being on the ground, just laid out, pregnant woman and all, he actually goes into her purse and steals money out of her wallet. And I was like, wow, Jeremiah, this is horrible. And so Angela, she is walking through the parking garage and she sees what's going on. So she rushes over, like, what are you doing? What's going on? Like, are you trying to rob her? Like, what exactly are you doing? And he's like, she fell. I didn't do anything. And she's like, you need to stay right there. I'm going to call the police. And I was like, okay, Angela, listen, I know that's your friend. You want to help out. What you need to do at this moment is just be there for your friend. Call the police. But all of this, like, you trying to take over and take control and give him orders, like, you need to relax before you end up like your friend over there. Like, calm down. Jeremiah is able to get away before the ambulance gets there. And so Fatima, she's back up. She's looks like she's doing pretty well. And she tells Angela, you know what, I spoke to the people and they told me that me and the baby are fine. And Angela's like, baby? She's like, oh yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you, yeah, I'm pregnant. And so Angela's like, well, wait, if you are pregnant and he just attacked you, then maybe you need to go to the hospital because there's a chance that there may be, you know, internal bleeding. And Fatima's like, no, I don't need to go to the hospital. And also, she's trying to play dumb and pretend like she wasn't actually attacked. But Angela calls her out. She's like, I was there. I saw everything that happened. I know that he attacked you. Angela tells her that she believes that they should call Zach. And Fatima's like, no. You cannot call Zach because if you call Zach, Zach is going to try to pow him. And I'll be honest with you, I feel like Zach would try to pow him as well. But at the same time, I feel like his brother will also try to pow him. So they definitely don't need to be in the same room. He definitely... Actually, I don't know because... I don't know. In this situation, this is a tricky situation because you're dealing with somebody who is a drug addict, somebody who is willing to pretty much do whatever to whoever. And then you have somebody who you're in a relationship with, somebody that cares about you. And when you mix those two together, it can end in nothing but bad. So I guess I'm on Fatima's side. Angela tells her, you know, he's going to find out, right, as far as Zach. And she's like, he's not going to find out. The only people that know that what happened is me, you, and Jeremiah. And she says, and she's like, what are you talking about? She said, look at your forehead. So she moves her hair out of the way and she sees that she has this big ass bruise on her. And she's like, fuck. Fatima ends up reaching out to Zach, and then Zach tells her that when it comes to Bryce, he wasn't able to get the money. And so Fatima realizes that he's probably pissed, he's probably upset right now. So her giving him this type of news is only going to make things worse. So she's like, you know what, I'm sorry I reached out to you in this moment. What I'll do is I'll wait till we get home and we can have a conversation then. And he's like, okay, cool. Back with Zach and Preston. So Bryce comes back in the office and he said that his father said that he will not send the money. Zach gets upset and tells him that he should smack the shit out of him. And then Bryce, you know, he starts apologizing like over and over. And it's just like, listen, I understand that you are sorry. I understand that this is not something that you probably planned to happen. But you saying sorry over and over again is not going to help the situation. And that's what Zach says. He's like, brother, you keep saying sorry, but my money, which is 1.5 million, my money is not here. My money is gone. Like, what is your sorry going to do for me? Bryce apologizes again, and Zach says, man, fuck your apology. I'm not trying to hear that right now. You stole $1.5 million from me, and now I can't even afford to bury my mother? Zach, he can't take it anymore, so he storms out of the office, and now it's just Preston and Bryce. And so Preston's like, why would you do this? Like, why would you go behind his back and do something that he told you not to? He says, you know what, I felt like this was a deal of a lifetime. I even brought it in a third person because I wanted the interest to be lower for him. The only problem is the third person that was involved ended up backing out of the deal, and so now they are pretty much $3 million in the hole. And Preston and myself, we were just like, damn. And so Preston's like, do you mind if I, take a look at the documents related to the property? And Bryce is like, sure. And then Preston's like, you know what, when it comes to the funeral, I'm actually going to offer to pay for it. And he was like, really? You would do that? He was like, yeah, I'm going to offer to do it, but I'm going to wait for him to calm down so he doesn't cuss me out. And so Preston, he takes the documents and he ends up walking out. After this, we see Connie, we see Nathan, we see Tony, we even see Belinda. They're sitting around talking, have a conversation. And then the next thing you know, we see Jeremiah. And Tony's like, hey, Jeremiah, come over here. And then Jeremiah's like, I didn't hurt her. You're like, what are you talking about? He said, I didn't touch her. Like, it was my fault. I didn't hurt her. You're like, you didn't hurt who? Like, what are you talking about? Jeremiah tells Connie that he knows that she lied about Fatima having the money. And she's like, hold on, brother. I never said that she had the money. I said that you just need to talk to her about the money. And so he continues to say, you know what, I did not hurt her. It wasn't my fault. And so they asked again, like, what are you talking about when you said that you did not hurt her? And he's like, she just fell. And they're like, what the fuck do you mean that she just fell? And he's like, listen, I didn't do anything. I'm not responsible. And so Connie's like, what did you do? And he tells her, I didn't do nothing, bitch. And I was like, oh my, Jeremiah, it was like that. And so Connie, Nathan, and Tony all decided they're going to go to Zach's house and tell him what's going on. Bryce is waiting for Angela to come home. She tells him, like, you can't just pop up at my house like that. Like, what are you doing? And she tells him that, you know what, I actually have company coming over. And he got a little attitude. And I was just thinking to myself, like, wait a minute. Didn't Zach say that you were the person that tried to kiss him? So what exactly is going on here? So you were mad at Angela for having a guy over, but you were on a down low trying to fuck another man. Like, what is happening? Bryce asks Angela if he can come inside, and it takes some time, but she's like, you know what, fine, you can come inside. And so he does come inside the house, and the two of them start talking. And he's just like, you know what, when it comes to the situation with Zach and the money, I really do not know what to do. Like, do you know anybody that I can reach out to maybe get the money? And she's like, I do know some people, but they're not really the best kind of people. If you go on their bad side, or if you do not pay them back, they can potentially, hurt you. They can pow you. Like, I don't really want you to be in that situation. But he's like, listen, I'm desperate. Like, I really need the money. And so she's just like, you know what? I'll see what I can do. Episode 2 ends with Belinda reaching out to Angela to say, hey, I just want to give you a heads up. Connie, Nathan, Tony, they're on their way to Zach's. So she ends up calling Fatima, and she's like, hey, I just want to give you a heads up. Belinda told me that Connie, Tony, and Nathan are on their way. And so Fatima, she reaches out to Zach, like, hey, where are you? And he's like, oh, I actually just pulled up him in the driveway. She's like, okay, cool. So then Fatima tries to reach out to Tony. Tony does not answer. And then she goes to the door, and she sees that they actually arrived, and they're actually talking to Zach. And I know she was just like, fuck. All right, so we are on episode 3. So episode 3 starts off where it ended last week. And so we see that the group has arrived to talk to Zach. And they have a lot of smiles on their face. It was almost as if they were like catching up. And I was like, why didn't they say anything as soon as they arrived? And so Fatima, she comes out, she's like, hey, what's going on? And Zach is like, well, they told me that they have something that they need to tell me. And so Fatima, she grabs Zach's arm, puts it over her belly, and she's like, I'm pretty sure what it is can wait. Nathan's like, no, it can't wait. There's something we need to tell you. And so as far as the group, they pretty much go back and forth like, hey, maybe we shouldn't say anything. Like, this can wait. And Nathan's like, no, we need to tell him right now. We need to say something. Like, why are we not saying anything? And so there's a bunch of back and forth. You all know how Tyler Perry shows go. He likes to stretch out scenes. So this lasted for a minute. But after a while, Zach is like, you know what? At this point, I don't even care. I'm going to go inside. You all can continue this conversation by yourselves. I'm going inside. As Zach is going inside, we see that Angela and Belinda pulled up. And I said, Belinda, why did you pull up to Fatima's house? You know that Fatima don't fuck with you. Like, come on now, please don't get hurt out here trying to be messy. Belinda walks up to Fatima. She's just like, hey, girl, what's going on? How's it been? And Fatima's like, if you don't get the fuck out of my face, like, I don't fuck with you. Like, come on now. Angela rushes up and she's like, what are you doing here? She was like, I just came to see what's going on. She's like, but you told me that you were not going to come. Like, why are you here? And both me and Fatima was like, because she's a messy ass bitch. Nathan and Fatima, they actually start going back and forth because Nathan's like, come on, like, we need to tell him, like, why are you not allowing me to tell him? Like, why are you protecting Jeremiah? And she's like, I'm not protecting Jeremiah, I'm protecting Zach, which is something that you should be doing as well. And he's like, come on now, you know how Zach is. And she's like, oh, so you think you know Zach better than me? He's like, yeah, that's my best friend. She was like, are you fucking him? And he's like, okay, well, maybe I don't know him like that, but I know him well enough to know if he finds out this information later on, he's going to be pissed, not only at you, but also at us. And she's like, look, at this point, I feel like you just need to mind your fucking business and worry about yourself. And it takes some time, but eventually Nathan, he does get the point. He's like, look, I feel like you all should tell him, but in the event that he does find out, I'm just going to say that I told y'all to tell him, so that way he ain't going to go off on me like that. And Fatima's just like, fine, whatever. Like, you just need to go, and you need to take that thing with you in regards to Belinda. Fatima goes back into the house, and she actually goes into the bathroom, and she notices that Zach is not in the tub that she ran. And he tells her that he does not feel like getting in the tub right now. In fact, he would rather drink. And then he starts thinking to himself, like, why would they come all the way over here to tell me something instead of texting me or calling me? Fatima tells him that it couldn't have been anything too important, otherwise they would have said something when they were there. Fatima tells him that he needs to get into the tub so that he can relax, and he says that I can't really relax because I'm still thinking about my mom, I'm thinking about the funeral. And she's like, you know what, I can actually plan it. And he's like, that's my mother, like, I'm not going to just stay out of it. And she's like, you know what, how about this? I will plan it and you will approve it. And he's like, you know what, that's a good idea. She also says that she can pick out the flowers, she can pick out the dress, but she wants to know what her favorite color is. And Zach is like, what is her favorite color? And it becomes quite apparent that he does not know that information. And Fatima's like, you know what, it's okay, don't worry about it. You did not have the most ideal upbringing, so maybe that is just not something that you all talked about. She decides to pivot and brings up the fact that Zach, it appears that he's just drinking a bit more. And she's like, look, I understand that you're going through what you're going through. This is a sad time, but I do not want you to always want to drink when something's going wrong. Like, I want you to think of other things, possibly even Dr. Reed, like talking to Dr. Reed. Like, we need to figure out something that you can do other than drink when things are going wrong, because you're going to be a father and you need to be at attention for this baby. And he's like, you know what, it's not going to be an issue, it's not going to be a problem. And so she says, you know what, please just get in the tub and relax. And he's like, you know what, I will get in the tub if you promise that you'll get in the tub with me. And she's like, okay, I'll do that for you, but let me just step out real quick, I'll be right back. And he's like, don't take too long. And so she goes downstairs and she grabs his phone and she ends up calling Connie. And Connie's like, look, I don't want no trouble with Fatima, I don't want no problems, like, get off my phone. And she's like, no, this is Fatima, it's me, don't worry. Fatima asked Connie, you know, like, how did you find out about Jeremiah? And she was like, well, Jeremiah's going around the projects pretty much talking about it. He's saying that he did not mean to hurt you. And she's just like, oh my God, he is going around just telling everybody everything. And she's like, well, the next time that you see Jeremiah, can you just tell him to chill out? And I was just like, I don't really know if that's a good idea, because Jeremiah, he is clearly unstable. He is willing to do whatever. Remember, Connie said that she was fearful that he was going to do something to her kids. So it's like, I don't really know if that's the best idea, but she's like, you know what? If I see him, I will talk to him and tell him to calm down. We go over to Belinda's house, and y'all, Belinda is doing everything she possibly can to try to get Nathan to call Zach. I was like, Belinda, you are doing the absolute most, like, ridiculous. Like, she even tries to work her lady magic, talks about, you know, how she swallows, and she's being like super flirtatious to try to get him to do it, but he's not really trying to, you know, get involved in that, because he's like, we were already there, we didn't say anything. And, you know, they did bring up good points. You know, maybe we need to allow, you know, Fatima to handle this. Like, maybe we shouldn't get involved. And she's like, come on, like, why are you letting them tell you what to do? Like, you're supposed to be the man amongst the men. Like, don't let them tell you what to do. Like, do your own thing. She continues to flirt to try to get him to call, but he's like, no, I'm not doing it. And so then that little nice, sweet, flirtatious Belinda that we saw goes completely away. She's like, you know what, you need to get the fuck out of my house. She also tells him that she has other men lined up, so it's not going to be an issue. He's like, you got other men lined up. And so they go back and forth for a little bit, and then eventually Nathan's like, you know what, you want me to call him so bad, I'm going to call him. So he reaches out to Zach, and she's all like real nice and shit now, but he gets the voicemail, and he's like, I'm not about to leave no man a voicemail like I'm a hoe or something. Like, I'm not doing that. And of course Belinda, she is upset. She is mad because she's like, come on, I just need you to say something to him. Like, because she's just messy. Like, Belinda, why do you care so much about this situation? Like, do you really want this to go down? Like, you already know if Zach finds out this information, somebody's going to get hurt. Like, why do you want this information out so bad? Preston and Zach have a conversation about Bryce, and Preston says, while I do not agree with him going behind your back, making the deal, he does understand why he chose that location. You know, it's in the prime area, the comps are great, and also they're getting ready to build 7 warehouses near it. And Zach is like, I'm already aware of that. Like, you don't think I knew that? It's not about the location, the comps, the warehouses that are coming. It's about the fact that this man went behind my back, made a deal, and took $1.5 million out of my account. Preston tells him, you know, I know it is bad, but this can actually work out in your favor. Like, in this building, you can take the top floor, make it your office, and then you can rent out the other space. And he's like, you know, that sounds good, but it's harder to do that when you do not have any capital. And so Preston's like, you know what? I actually have some money that I want to give you. And he gave him a check for $3 million. Let me say it again for those in the back. Gave him a check for $3 million and said that he'll be willing to give him that money if he can make him a 33% owner when it comes to the building. Zach rushes up to him, hugs him, and it seems like everything is good, everything is great. But then Preston says, you know, I want 33% ownership of the building, but I also want Bryce to be involved. And Zach is like, I don't want him to be involved. Like, he already stole from me, went from out my back. Like, why would I even bring him back into the fold? And it's just like, look, if it wasn't for Bryce, this location wouldn't even be available. Like, he was the one that pretty much got everything started. So you have to include him. And he's like, you know what? I'll tell him about it, but I'm going to wait. You know what? I'm going to allow him to suffer for a little bit because I was over here suffering because I didn't have my money. So I'm going to make him do the same thing. The 3rd episode ends with Angela. She is trying to fuck Sean. And I'm going to be honest with y'all, when it comes to Angela and Sean, they're kind of on the same wavelength as Sabrina and Rich, meaning I don't give a fuck about them. So I'm pretty much going to gloss over this entire scene. The two of them, they have a conversation. During this conversation, you hear somebody blowing the horn. And so Angela goes out and it's Bryce. And Bryce, he is super frantic. Like, he is all over the place. And he's trying to talk to her just a little bit. But like I said, he's like a loose cannon. And then he's like, you know what? Forget it. Nobody cares about me. You don't care about me. You know, my dad, he called me a failure. All of this and all of that. And then he gets into his car, races down the street, and ends up hitting somebody else. And I said, oh my God, Bryce, what the fuck? All right, we're on episode 4, so we're almost done. So as far as the episode 4, it picks up where the last one left off. And so Angela, she is rushing down to see what's going on with Bryce. Sean actually rushes down as well. And as they are, you know, towards the car, Angela starts to smell gas. And she's like, oh my God, we need to get him out. We need to get him out. And so Angela and Sean, they are able to get him out. And as soon as they get him out of the car blows up. And I was just like, wait a minute. So Bryce, he hit somebody else's car. So clearly somebody else was in the vehicle. The car blew up. So I'm just like, so did the person in the other car die? Did they blow up too? Like, what happened to the other person? After this, we see Zach and Fatima, they're in the bed. And I just want to point something out really quickly. Do you all remember that big ass bruise that was on Fatima's forehead? That bruise is gone. I'm like, so it went away in the span of a couple of hours. Like, that is, you know, crazy to me. And so she asks Zach, you know, did you sleep good? And he's like, hell yeah, I slept good. Like, I got money. Like, I'm no longer in the red. And then he goes on to say, like, I never want to be in that situation again. And she's like, what situation are you talking about? And then he's like, look, I don't want to compare you two, but, you know, when I was dealing with Karen, and she rolled her eyes, she's like, oh my God, I know you ain't bringing up Karen. But he's like, you know, when I was with Karen, I was broke, I was struggling, her friends were talking shit about me, calling me a scrub. Like, I don't want to go back to that place again. Fatima, she don't give a fuck about Karen. She don't want to talk about Karen, so she pivots, and she's like, you know, did you reach out to Bryce to let Bryce know that you got that check? And he's like, no, I want him to wait, I want him to suffer. And Fatima's like, come on now, really, we can't really do this. But let me tell you something. Zach, he put his foot down in his moment. He said, look, I don't want to talk about this shit no more. I made my decision. And Fatima was just like, oh, okay. After this, we see Nathan, we see Belinda, and they're fucking on the couch, and it appears that they came at the same time, so good for them. And after that, Belinda's like, okay, this was cool, this was fun, but you know what, you need to leave. And he's like, what do you mean I need to leave? You don't want to cuddle? She's like, no, I need to go to work. And he was just like, okay, what does that have to do with anything? She's like, when I leave the house, everybody leaves the house. And I was like, I know that's right. Nathan says, you know what, you should make an exception for me because we're dating. She was like, dating? We are not dating, we are fucking. Like, you were nothing but a quick fuck. Like, who told you that we were dating? The two of them continue to go back and forth, and Nathan is like, you know what? I've been kicked out of better places than this, and I've also been kicked out of better pussies than yours, so I'm going to just head out. And I was like, oh, that was cold. As Nathan is leaving, Belinda gets a call from Angela, who tells her that Bryce got into an accident. Belinda, she's trying her absolute best to try to figure out who Bryce is. She's like, who the fuck is Bryce? And she's like, you don't remember Bryce? Remember, he's the last person I dated. Like, you met him. And she's like, oh, okay, well, I mean, but what happened? And Angela, she's starting to get frustrated. And then Melinda's like, look, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to frustrate you. Just give me the information as far as what the name of the hospital and the location, and I'll be there as soon as possible. Angela's like, okay, fine. Belinda does eventually make it to the hospital, and she's like, hey, what's going on? And so Angela's like, you know what? He got into his car, he drove it to somebody else, and he did it on purpose. And so Belinda's like, was he trying to commit suicide? And she was like, I'm not really sure what he was trying to do, but, you know, it's really bad. And so Belinda was like, did you tell Zach? And she's like, why would I tell Zach? And she was like, didn't you say that that was Zach's business partner? And she's like, oh, so you didn't remember us dating, but you remember that part about him being like the partner, right? And so she's like, well, I mean, did you reach out to him? And she was like, well, I've been trying to call Fatima all day, but she has not answered. And Belinda's like, well, you can just kind of bypass Fatima and call Zach directly. And Angela's like, I'm not calling him. Zach and Preston, they are in the office, and Zach, he calls the bank to verify that the check was real, that the money was real, because he's like, look, I like you, you cool, but let me just double check. I'm not trying to be on no fraud shit. And so he calls them, and they do confirm the check is real, the money is real, everything is good. And so Preston's like, I mean, are you surprised? Did you think I was a liar? And he's like, hell yeah, I thought you were a liar. Like, come on now, we're not talking about $30, we're not talking about $300, we're not talking about $3,000. We are talking about $3 million. Like, come on now. Preston wants to know, when does he plan to tell Bryce? And he's like, I'm gonna be honest with you, I really want him to suffer. Like, he needs to wait, he needs to suffer. Like, all the stuff that he did to me, like, the reason why I'm in this situation where I was in the red in the first place, and why I had to make you a partner in this, is because of what he did. And he's like, look, I get it, I understand, but something that you need to realize, Zach, is the longer that you make him wait, is the longer that you make yourself wait. If you want everything to go through, you want to start making money on this property, you got to tell him. And he's like, I guess. There are two quick scenes after this, and I'm just going to put them together. And so in the first scene, we have Nathan, we have Tony at the barbershop, and they're pretty much debating if they should tell Zach about, you know, what happened. It does get heated between them and also some people in the barbershop, but at the end, they do agree that, you know what, we definitely do need to tell Zach. And then in the second scene, Fatima, she goes to the projects, and y'all, Fatima, she looks so out of place. Like, what are you doing here? It's like the rich suburban girl going to the projects. It was crazy. But she ends up walking up to Connie, and she's like, look, I just want to give you a heads up that Zach is actually on his way to talk to Jeremiah. And this part kind of confused me, because I was like, did they have a conversation about them going to visit Jeremiah? Like, when was this brought up? I'm not sure. But she's just like, you know, Zach is coming down to talk to Jeremiah, so I need you to talk to Jeremiah and say, hey, I did not say anything to Zach, you know, it's no problem, it's no issue, I did not say anything, right? And so Connie is like, I mean, I can tell him, but he is fucking crazy. Like, he is a drug addict. Like, there really isn't much I can say. Plus, he's out here attacking women. Like, I don't really know if I even want to be that close to him. And so they are talking, you know, and Fatima is trying her best to convince, you know, Connie to do this. But then they look over and they see that Zach actually made it. He's at the top of the steps. And Fatima's just like, damn. All right, y'all, episode 5, this is the last one for this video. So it picks up where episode 4 left off. And so Zach, he's walking towards them. And so they decide that they want to change the conversation and pretend that they're talking about Gladys. So he walks up and he's like, what are you two talking about? And Fatima's like, oh, we're talking about, you know, the funeral. Like, I wanted to know if she knew what Gladys's favorite color was. And Zach was like, oh, you think that she would know that? And she's like, of course I know that. I used to talk to your mom every day. And he's like, well, what did you two used to talk about? And she was like, well, we used to talk about her dreams, the fact that she wanted to get clean, and we also talked about you. And he was like, what did she say about me? And Connie was like, she said that she was really proud of you. And Zach was like, that's bullshit, I don't believe you. And she's like, why would I have to lie about that? And even Fatima, she jumped in, she was like, she wouldn't lie about that. And it's just like, come on now, Zach, why would she lie about that? Fatima decides to change the conversation around, and she's like, what are you doing here? And he's like, I actually came to speak to Jeremiah. And she was like, but I thought that we were going to speak to him together. And he's like, yeah, I thought about it, but the thing about Jeremiah is he's a loose cannon, he's out of control. And if he says something slick to you, I'm going to put my hands on him. Come on now, like, you pregnant, I can't have him talking to you crazy or potentially like hitting you like he's out of control. Like, you don't need to be here. Fatima, she still attempts to try to convince, like, come on, just let me talk to him. I understand what he's going through. But Zach was like, look, I made up my mind. It is what it is. I'm about to go talk to him. You can stand out here with Connie, but I'm about to go talk to him. And so he's walking towards the apartment, and then Connie's like, wait. And he's like, what is it? Like, what is going on? And she's like, listen, your brother, he's not here. He was like, what? He was like, your brother's not here. And she was like, well, how do you know that he's not here? And she was like, because I've been outside all day. He was like, oh, so you've been outside all day? She was like, yeah. He was like, okay, well, if he's not there, where did he go? She was like, I don't know. He was like, but I thought you said that you've been outside all day. Hucky said you've been outside all day, but you don't know where he's at, and his apartment is right here. And she's just like, look, I'm just telling you, I'm not covering for him, but he's not here. The three of them continue to go back and forth, trying to prevent Zach from going into the apartment. And then next thing you know, Fatima, she receives a text message from Angela about Bryce. And so she actually calls her, puts it on speakerphone, and she's like, oh, y'all, I can't believe it. Bryce, he was racing down the street. He ended up hitting somebody's car on purpose. He was talking about Zach and the money deal. And now Zach is like, oh my God, so what, y'all gonna blame me for this? He's at the hospital. And Fatima's like, okay, well, we'll be there. And Zach was like, what you mean we will be there? She was like, come on, we need to go. And he's like, no, I need to talk to my brother. She's like, no, we need to go to the hospital. Like, he's hurt. Like, come on. He's like, I feel like you two are up to something. You two are in cahoots. She's like, we are not in cahoots. Come on, let's go. And so it does take some time, but eventually Zach is like, you know what? Fine. I know you two are up to something. When I find out about it, it's going to be bad. But you know what? Let's just go to the hospital. After this, we see Belinda. She's at the barbershop with Nathan and Tony, and she's telling them what happened with Bryce, right? And so as they are talking, one of the people, I'm not sure if he owns the barbershop or if he's just one of the barbers in the shop, he's like, Belinda, we don't want to hear all this fucking yapping. Like, you need to leave. And so she looks over at Nathan like, you gonna let him talk to me like that? And he was like, look, Belinda, I like you, I care about you, but I don't want no problems with this man. And the man was like, yeah, because if you come over here, you're gonna get sliced up, right? And so Belinda, she does leave, and as she is leaving, guess who comes in? Jeremiah. Jeremiah comes into the shop and he's like, hey, I got this watch. I was wondering if you all want to buy it. They're like, nobody wants to buy this watch from you, but he keeps pressing them. So Tony's like, you know what, let me see it. He looks at it and he's like, wait a minute. And he hands the watch over to Nathan and he's like, read the back of it. And on the back, it says something along the lines of, like from Zach to Fatima. And I was like, Jeremiah, you are really trying to sell Fatima's watch to Zach's homeboys? Like, see, that should let you know that he is unstable. That's why when it comes to like Connie trying to have a conversation, I'm like, that is a terrible idea. Like, he is out of control. Fatima and Zach, they do eventually arrive at the hospital, and Angela, this part threw me off. She asked Zach, like, she didn't say this exactly, but she was like, are you in agreement with him crashing his car into somebody else? And Zach was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Why would I be in agreement with him crashing his car trying to commit suicide? Like, what exactly are you talking about? And she's like, oh, I just wanted to double check, just wanted to make sure. Like, what? Angela goes on to say that she knows that Zach was upset, when it comes to the money. And so Zach was like, are you sure that he crashed his car on purpose? Are you sure that it was an accident? And she's like, no, he crashed his car on purpose. It looks like he was trying to commit suicide, right? And so Fatima's like, well, did you reach out to his parents? And she's like, no. And she's like, why not? She was like, well, I want to talk to him first. And she was like, okay. And then she was saying that she doesn't really know his parents like that. Like, they haven't been dating that long. So she's not really sure if it's really something that she should do in regards to reaching out to the parents, right? And so they continue to talk, and the doctor ends up coming out, and she's like, hey, I just want to let you all know that Bryce is doing much better. Bryce is doing good. And she's like, you all can actually go into the room to see him. Angela goes into Bryce's room, and Bryce is very short with her. Like, he is being very rude. Zach and Fatima make it in, and Bryce was like, oh my God. You can tell that, he is super embarrassed. And so Bryce says, you know what, when it comes to the vehicle, he actually lost control. He's trying to downplay the whole suicide angle. He's like, I lost control, but it doesn't matter because it wasn't rental. It wasn't my car. And then we find out in this moment that he actually sold his car, and he was planning to get the money that he got from, selling the car to Zach after his mom's funeral. Fatima looks over at Zach and is like, you know what, I think it's time. And then Bryce was like, time for what? And so it does take a few moments, but Zach is like, When it comes to Preston, he actually bailed us out. He gave me the money. And now Bryce, he's super happy because, that was his ultimate goal, to pay Zach back. But he says, you know what, he gave me the money, but he wants 33% ownership of the building. And Bryce was like, cool, fine, I don't care. I was going to get a third partner anyway, so it really doesn't matter. Like, this is great. Bryce ends up apologizing for the 45th time, and Zach is like, you know what, I appreciate it, I accept it. And so then him and Fatima, they leave the room, and then Angela and Bryce, they're in the room together, and Angela's just like, so we're not going to talk about what happened, the fact that you crashed this car. And he's like, listen, I just lost control. She's like, no, you did not lose control, you tried to commit suicide. And so she's trying to get through to him, like, what is going on, like, talk to me. But he is so over. He's like, look, I don't want to talk about this shit. Matter of fact, I don't even want to be in this hospital room. Like, I need to be discharged. And then, like, the doctors are not going to discharge. He's like, well, I want to discharge myself. And he starts pulling stuff out. She's like, okay, I will get the doctor. And I was just like, man, this is horrible. Zach and Fatima, they go to the funeral home, and I just want to say this really quickly. The person that's playing the funeral director, he cannot act for shit. I just wanted to point that out. But as far as the funeral director, he's trying to get them to buy this super expensive casket. It's $18,000. And me and Zach were both like, $18,000? Excuse me? And the only thing I was thinking about was what Kendrick Lamar, what did he say? If you were in a pine box, listen, I love you, I appreciate you, Mom, but listen, $18,000, that's too much fucking money. The three of them, they continue to talk, and the director brings up Jeremiah. And Zach is like, look, he has issues, he has problems when it comes to the arrangements to deal with me. And so the director's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And he's like, why does that make sense? He was like, well, Jeremiah actually came here because he thought that you had sent us some jewelry to put on your mother for when she's buried. And I was just like, wow. It's bad enough what you did to Zatima, but you trying to do that to your mother, your mom? Wow. The director also tells him that Jeremiah was actually trying to sell him a watch, and it turned out to be a real Rolex. And Zach was like, a Rolex? He can't afford a Rolex. Like, how did he get that? And the director's like, yeah, like, he wanted to sell me a Rolex, to pay for the funeral. And I was just like, this is not good. Because clearly, it wasn't to try to pay for the funeral. It was clearly to try to get some drugs. But, Zach is like, this is crazy. Like, where did he get this Rolex? And the director was like, well, I actually have a picture of it. Do you want to see it? And he's like, yeah. And then Fatima was like, no, you don't need to see a picture. And he was like, no, I want to see the picture. So the director actually gets the picture of the Rolex, and they're looking at it. He's like, where would he get this Rolex from? And Fatima's trying to play it off like, oh, I don't know. And then Zach looks over at Fatima's arm, and he's like, wait a minute, where's your watch? And that's where the episode ends. I want to thank you all so much for watching this video. I really do appreciate it. My goal is to get the full recap, so I believe it's 20 episodes. I want to get it up by next Tuesday. But if you all could, please like, comment, share, subscribe. That would be great. Hope you all have a great rest of your day. Bye.